Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most difficult last bosses, dungeons, or missions in gaming.
Don't worry, there will be an end to this, a pinnacle. The next stage will be your last, I assure you.
Number 10, Command Deck, BioShock Infinite. The final stretch of this game is basically a glorified escort mission. All you have to do is protect the ship's core long enough to clear the stage. Sounds easy, right? Unfortunately, Infinite's last level isn't a test of skill. It's a war of attrition. No matter what you do, enemy gunships will keep dropping off motorized Patriots and Vox soldiers and rapid fire turrets. It happens again and again and again until you're so overwhelmed you can barely think straight, let alone defend the core. Even if you're the best marksman in the world, it still takes a few tries to see BioShock Infinite's credit. Number 9, Firefield F0. Despite how it looks, there's actually no way to drive into the lava on this track. But having bumpers doesn't make F-Zero's climactic circuit easy, not by a long shot. All it takes is one bad turn to leave you bouncing off the walls like a pinball. And if you make it through the first one unscathed, don't worry, there's plenty more tight 180-degree turns where that came from. Then, in truly despicable fashion, the end of the lap makes you choose between your one pit stop and a much faster shortcut. Suffice it to say, Firefield was designed to keep you on your toes, or rather, on the brakes. Number 8, Sector Horologium, Shin Megami Tensei, Strange Journey. Calling this a level isn't quite right. No, Sector Horologium is a full-on labyrinth. As the 8th and final area of the game's main dungeon, Horologium is the utter culmination of what Strange Journey has to offer. Both in and out of combat, the confusing maze-like layout forces you to thoroughly explore each of its sprawling floors. But you can't take too much time, or the high-level encounters will shred straight through your damaged team. As if that isn't stressful enough, the choices made in here also lock the player into one of the Strange Journey's 3 endings. Oh, and don't even get us started on that final boss. Number 7, Rainbow Road, Mario Kart franchise. It's all fun and games until someone picks Rainbow Road. Whether you're playing on the original SNES track or any of its iterations since, the concluding race is always a white-knuckled fight to the finish. And all it takes is one try to see why. The sharp drifts and distinct lack of bumpers turn even Mushroom Boost into a lopsided gamble. Well, unless you're trying to shoot off into orbit, that is. Then again, you probably don't need to hear any of this from us. Rainbow Road and its many hazards have been terrorizing Mario Kart players for generations. At this point, it's just part of the experience. Number 6, Temple Ship Assault, XCOM, Enemy Unknown. Thwarting an alien invasion is never easy, but XCOM's final mission takes that idea to a whole nother level. Since you're attacking the mothership, there's never enough cover to completely avoid taking damage. Those tiny nicks quickly add up when you're blasting through 6 consecutive swarms of enemies. Trial and error is basically the only way to get through it, and yet sometimes you'll still just lose for no reason. Thanks to XCOM's infamous accuracy checks, even the best laid plans can go south with a few unlucky misses. If by some miracle you make it to the last stage, you're rewarded with a beastly throwdown against the Uber Etherol. Not even perfect stats would make that fighty.
This is not your purpose.
Number 5, the Imperial Catherine. When Vincent's asleep, he's forced to ascend in an imaginary clubhouse by turning stacks of cubes into staircases. Unfortunately, the last level turns that dream into a gamer's nightmare. The Imperial, introduced at the 11th hour of the campaign, decides to throw all sorts of new mechanics at the player. Suddenly, Vincent is avoiding spike blocks, monster blocks, and blocks that are hitting until he's already stepped on them. All the while, you're trying to climb fast enough to avoid an instant game over from the rising floor. Clearly, no one's getting through the Imperial without absolutely mastering Catherine's puzzle-like gameplay. Still, it is technically fair, if only barely.
You'll never win, you bastard!
What are you, stupid?
Number 4. Kiln of the First Flame, Dark Souls 3. It takes 4 Chaos Lord souls, incredible dexterity, and 5 Black Knight fights just to make it through the Kiln of the First Flame. But when you finally walk into the last room, you have one more visitor to contend with, the Soul of Cinder, aka the final boss to end all final bosses. Since he's the amalgamation of all the Lords of Cinder, he fights with a staggering amount of different spells and patterns. Then, once you whittle him down, he suddenly regenerates all his health, and his second phase begins. This time, with yet another moveset to learn. Dark Souls 3 really makes you work for its ending, that's for sure. Number 3, Alien's Lair, Contra. Seven stages in Contra brings out the big guns by taking away yours. In the original arcade version, there's not a single power-up in the entire level. So either you win without getting hit, or you're stuck with a painfully low damage blaster. Unfortunately, the level is also littered with complex platforming, tricky enemy patterns, and foes that hone in on you. Even when you get to the final area, it still takes some serious skill to secure the win. To be fair though, hard final levels are kind of Contra's thing. In the third game, Alien Wars, you don't just blow up the invader's heart. You have to beat the uber difficult Emperor Demon Gava too. Number 2, the final stage, Ghost and Goblin. It's only fitting that one of the hardest games of all time also has a hair-pulling last level. To set the stage, you're fighting a boss with 2 different fireballs. You can only be hit twice, and your weapon is a spammable shield toss. But you can't throw it while standing or at the peak of your jump. Yeah, it's a grueling slugfest, and that's putting it lightly. The worst part though is that this isn't even the final boss. After defeating the evil Astaroth the first time, you have to replay the entire game on a new, higher difficulty to unlock the true last stage. Spoiler, it's Astaroth again, just even more obnoxiously overpowered.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Act 6. Ninja Gaiden. This famous Nintendo title is not for the faint of heart, or really for anyone who values their sanity. Ninja Gaiden's final act includes not 1, not 2, but 3 boss fights. And yes, they all have to be beaten in succession. Due to a notorious bug in the game's code, if you die at all in the final stages, you are sent right back to the start of the act. You heard that right. Not the previous fight or area, the last act. So, in order to see the ending, you have to beat the most brutal stretch of Ninja Gaiden in a single perfect run. The word hard doesn't even begin to cover. Have you beaten any of these insurmountable levels? Brag about it in the comments down below.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.